after the game, Freddie Kitchens said this is not what we're about, and the Haslam family just sent out a statement that said the same thing. All that said, do you think any of this is going to wind up at the feet of Freddie Kitchens, talking about undisciplined behavior, talk about not having control, that other coaches, no player would ever consider doing that because they'd be afraid of the ramifications? That's normally what does come with the territory where the first-year head coach has only won 4 out of his first 10 despite the 2-game win streak.
Well, that's going to be part of the learning process for this young Browns roster, and understanding that what you do and the actions that you take on the field have repercussions not only for yourself and your teammates, but your coaches and your organization and your city. Because the message, really, the beginning of the season was Freddie Kitchens doesn't have control of his team because of the undisciplined play, because of the penalties. And they had gotten better in the last 3 weeks with those things. And then to have something like this only adds fuel to the fire of, does Freddie Kitchens have control of this team? Does he have control of these players where they're afraid to act a certain way that hurts the team because they know how hard Freddie Kitchens is going to come down on it? And right, wrong, or indifferent, when there is something like this that happens, that becomes part of the narrative around the team. And I think when I talked to Myles Garrett this morning, I'm in Berea this morning, I got a chance to talk to him. You could see how upset and remorseful he was, not only for his own actions, but how it's affecting everybody around him, not only what he did to Mason Rudolph and how he sparked such an ugly moment at the end of the game, but now the questions that his teammates are going to have to answer about the coaching staff and Freddie Kitchens in particular, because that is a tough narrative to overcome. And when you have something as big and momentous as what we saw at the end of the game, that's just going to only feed to that fire that people, especially people that might not like Freddie as a coach, want to say about him, how he's lost control of that locker room.
What do you think is going to happen in 2 weeks when they see each other again? I mean, 10 days, literally.
Well, it's interesting because this was such an explosive fight, such an explosive end to the game. It's almost like things could possibly simmer out and fizzle out by that time. And there's a great opportunity where cooler heads prevail, and it's a very boring, mundane, standard game because a lot of the players that were involved in this won't even be playing in that game because it is such a recent game. And you talk about the suspensions with Marquise Pouncey for 3 games and Myles Garrett for the rest of the season. So I could definitely see this being a non-event game. But on the flip side of the coin, there could be a lot of heat from this game still. And there was one thing we haven't even talked about, and that was the Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry sort of mocking Mike Tomlin with the yawning after the touchdown, and then OBJ and Mike Tomlin kind of jawing back and forth during the game. That was something that was completely overlooked, but definitely would have been a storyline the rest of this game, and kind of how that rivalry is taken off a little bit and then moving into 2 weeks. And so it'll be interesting to see how the storylines potentially could shift from the Myles Garrett, Mason Rudolph fight to, all right, Tomlin versus the Browns receivers and the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Cleveland Browns, because we did see some big hits in the secondary, specifically in this game early on, that could, that type of stuff could boil over in a couple weeks.
For more of The Rich Eisen Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV for free on BR Live, or download The Rich Eisen Show app.